What's going on? Boys, thanks to our patrons and Fiverr customers, subscribe to our Patreon free for behind the scenes stuff. Arm yourselves, life stuff. I've been watching stuff about Europe lately, and I've also been watching more of these European nationalist channels. And I agree with their assessment, most of these assessments, that Europe is in fact dead. But it's for a completely different reason from the one stated. Immigration didn't kill Europe. Multiculturalism didn't kill Europe. Europe was already dead. All that stuff is part of the decomposition process. So, what killed Europe? Well, first and foremost, the singular cause to all the effects is Europeans' souls are diseased. I've been reading about the Constitution lately, and boy, have I read a fiery gospel. Remember what we were thinking about a while ago, maybe a few weeks ago? The concept, all men are created equal, has nothing to do with actually being born literally equal, even equal in terms of opportunity or outcome, but rather equal in the sense no person is basically, essentially, spiritually above another person. And on this level, I'm talking about even when a person achieves superiority, they are still not superior on this level, I mean. Well, in my reading, I got it confirmed that was, in fact, what all men are created equal was supposed to mean, or at least what the source text meant it to mean. And I love that because you can take it as noble or as metal as you'd like. The best slogans mean multiple things simultaneously. Or rather, because that's wrong, I don't mean they mean multiple things simultaneously, but they state a fact that you can feel any number of ways about. That's what makes slogans punchy. And today, thinking about Europe, I'm thinking all men are created equal in a very supreme way. Because I don't think Europe understands or appreciates that concept. That's a concept missing from their soul, and that's why Europe is and has always been a pit. Europe is a genetic continent. Europeans are a genetic people. And I think this has everything to do with the soul of the soil. Because as an American, I was watching this clip this dude was showing, and I was agreeing with this one guy as if it were obvious, this is the right guy, and then we get out of the clip, the dude bashes the guy I was agreeing with brutally, comments are bashing the guy I agreed with brutally, and I felt very American in that moment. Because I don't know the people who were debating, they were both Europeans and therefore beneath remembering, except for the one maybe, but the disagreement came to culture and ethnicity. It started with my guy saying, where you're born is what you are. And the other guy took issue with that, and I could see why someone would take issue with that, because I was under the impression this was a you're born here, you get citizenship, and then you grow up somewhere else, but then you get to take advantage of the fact, or the location you were born in. But then they refined their positions. My guy believed where you're born, plus where you grew up, became a person, plus the culture you lived in, don't know any other culture, that makes you of that land. And the guy who was disagreeing with him said, no, you can be born there, you can grow up there, that can be the only culture you know, you can love that culture, and you're still not of that culture because you are not ethnically of that culture. And that was the European sentiment. And if you've been following the channel for a good while, you know, as critical as I am of all right leaning movements, they have most of my sympathies when they aren't being fucking stupid. And the reason I am so often so critical is because they are almost always being so fucking stupid. How do you misinterpret your own principles that poorly? And especially in the United States, right leaning people are supposed to be these constitutionalist people, but that's almost never the case. Anyway, I felt very American at that moment. And it's also different channel. There are a bunch of these like little European dude channels. One was criticizing Gran Torino in a very similar vein. And Gran Torino is a fascinating movie because I hate it. Clint Eastwood is a cornball. The generation or the segment of the generation it's trying to appeal to is a bunch of cornballs, as are the younger generations that swing from that segment of that generation's balls, cornballs. And much of the messaging about what an ideal America should be bugs me. Bugs them too, but for different reasons. And maybe it's because I'm a third/fourth generation immigrant, but that part of the movie is what appeals to me. In a cold, reptilian, soulless way, but in a supreme way, American monoculturalism, its willingness to invite people in and then to benefit and be strong from the blood and the soil and the monoculture. And by the way, when I say monoculture, I don't mean everyone all looking and acting exactly the same way. I mean all carrying within our souls the same basic principles, like all men are created equal. Subcultures are great when everyone still has that monocultural soul because they're laboratories, they're businesses. It's why America's the best. It's why we own you. We own your minds, which is a lot more important. You wear our clothes, you listen to our music, your soldiers shoot our guns. From the American point of view, from the supreme point of view, and from the more evolved point of view, we are more evolutionarily advanced than Europeans are. The soul of the soil knows what it wants to do in the arena or on the arena of the planet. And Lady Liberty wants the best blood. We've talked about this before, but even if you're a first generation immigrant, weren't born here, the moment you are living here, the soil is nursing you. It's guiding you. It is exerting influence over you. And that soul is even stronger when you're born here and raised here. And that's the crazy shit. Some of those comments, this is the weird shit, right? I don't hear people talk about the mystical soil the way we do here. I mean, there are, or have been groups that do talk about, blood and soil and things like that. But they don't talk about it the way we do. They talk about it as if it's an origination place and a return destination. And I don't view it that way at all. I view it as soil with dreams of becoming a great garden. Or at least North and South America. In North and South America, that's the case. I don't know what other shitty continents are doing. But a number of these supposed nationalist Europeans were criticizing the concept of a mystical soil in any form. And maybe that contributes to Europeans' weakness as well. They live on a corpse. Maybe their soil does in fact not have a soul. They're perfectly right to feel that way. Your land is dead. But as an American, whatever you think, however you feel, you have this energy in you. And this is what I mean when I say Europeans are a genetic people. Europeans, in their anal fashion, fixate on the particularities of genetics. On one side, you have X for the X's, one ethnicity for one landmass, and then you have another group that wants other genetics, other ethnicities, not for the strengths, the virtues, the values of these genetics, but specifically just for the genetics. That's another thing. You want to be engaged in traditional 2013 era liberalism. Americans did social justice better. Our social justice was a soul war. There were ethnic components to it, but the soul was our focus. What do European liberals want? Other genetics. It's soulless. It's been soulless. It will continue to be soulless. And that's partially why Europe in general grosses me out. There is a baseness to their perspective, to their existence. They care, or they claim to care, about the spirit, but ultimately, all they care about is the body and the past. And when they care about the past, they care only about what the body was doing in the past. So when a European wants to return to the past, it's a base past. Those were base existences. They want to return to something that got them right back where they are. Your soul was still diseased back then. That's how you ended up here. And then what's the alternative? It is outbreeding or breeding out one race with another for no reason other than the genetic. Their souls, if you can call them that, revolve around the body. When they try to be spiritual or mystical, what do you always come back to? What does the European mind, when it reaches into the mystical, come back to? Ethnicity. Genes. It's one note. Why are Americans more evolved? Because we're a mimetic people. We aren't striving for a genetic outcome. If you're born and raised in America, you are an American. I think we're striving for monoculturalism. And that's interesting because I think even an American's desire for multiculturalism, if that's what they desire, it's still monocultural in nature. The pouring all the sodas into one glass thing. You can call that stupid, you can call it corporate ultimately, because that's what it would be. It would be a big branding thing. But it's still a desire for spiritual oneness. We aren't fighting each other over the future of a race. We are fighting each other over the future of our souls. And that speaks to a few peculiarities about the United States. Peculiarities I'm fond of. We talked a while ago about the way, if you look at, we're still using old words, but social justice types, they don't hate toxically masculine men, as long as spiritually those men are on their sides. Look at American racists, self-proclaimed racists. You do actually have Europe-style base genetics racists, but I don't have any statistics on this. This is going from my growing up in the South. Why do you always have one of the good ones? Why do you always have based black guy? Why do you have this simping for rooftop Koreans? Because even our racists want monoculture. Now, they're phrasing it in a very unhelpful way, but once again, when you're dealing with Americans, it's hard to dislike someone based on any factor as long as you feel your souls are aligned. And in the last 6 or 7 years, and something I'm excited to see play out probably until I die, is a coming synthesis. I don't know what it'll look like, but I can feel, at least in younger generations, a convergence coming. We'll continue to look different, we'll continue to talk different, we'll continue to belong to and come out of different subcultures, but the sub in subculture I feel is beginning to get emphasized. No less important, necessary even, if we intend to dominate the globe, as is our right, manifest destiny. I'm getting the feeling Americans are getting tired of losing. And we might not be able to win in our lifetime, but we're beginning to get on the same page about figuring out how to stop losing. And of course, right now, not everyone is on board. Most people aren't on board, but you can feel the soil. You take off your socks, you stand on the grass, you start grounding, you start edging, you feel what the soil is telling you. We are a coiling spring. We are a coiling snake. I think that will be a big part of what helps reestablish monoculturalism. And I haven't said it in this video, I've been ranting about it in the Patreon post lately, but the difference between diversity and multiculturalism. Diversity is our strength. We have the best blood. You're alive on this continent because your ancestors went through some fucked up stuff. Maybe Grandpa Joe, the boomer, didn't have it so bad, but go back further. Somewhere in your family was a survivor. You're the descendant of people who take risks, who go into the unknown, went into the unknown, and lived. This country has an energy no other country has. Why is that? Because, well, actually, that's why I say the New World. South America has some fucking weird history that's a lot like ours. All the other continents are blooded with stagnant blood. By and large, their ancestors didn't go out and win, they subsisted and survived. That's it. And why does diversity continue to be our strength? Because the story of your ancestors can be the story of Jean-Claude dipshit, Jiang dipshit, Kim dipshit, whoever wants to come over here and do the same thing. Maybe not as intense as the original descendants, but give us a few decades, we'll give new immigrants something for their descendants to feel proud of. We get the best blood. We get winter blood. We get survivor blood. For the most fertile and spiritually nourishing and nurturing soil there is. Multiculturalism, however, different. Diversity is giving unto the best soil the best blood. Multiculturalism is permitting infiltrators to fuck up the good thing you and your soil are trying to get done together. That's the state we're in right now. We're run, owned, and operated by a bunch of infiltrators. But here's the difference between the United States' situation and Europe's situation. Europe's big answer, or big answers, all lead to death in some fashion. The United States' answers, if things go the way I feel they could go, is dominance. Because we're a mimetic people. We understand the blood serves the soul, not the other way around. I just took a clarity piss and I realized I need to mention something. All this European inferiority I'm talking, unfortunately, I still look at you people as people. But with the most backward, awful souls and points of view possible. And in dealing with Europeans, I mean, with all nationalities, but with Europeans especially, you don't get the sense they're looking at you as a person also. To them, you're either a dumb American or a statistic, or both. And in that, we find another thing that makes Americans better than you. We extend you a humanity you don't deserve and have done everything in your power to throw away, make yourself undeserving of. That's how gracious we are. But anyway, back to other forms of American supremacy. You realize maybe within our lifetimes, we will become an octopus of cultures, a hydra of cultures. Not in the multicultural sense, because we aren't a den of vipers like you are. We're a hydra. Countless heads connected to one body. A body that wants to win. And you know there is a resonance in this mystical shit because let's think about our future for a moment. We're futurists on this channel. Because the future could be yours. The future could be anything. And you have a chance to make it what you want it to be. I want the future, our future, to be a racial subculture wombo combo united under one monoculture. Committed against a world that doesn't know what potential the United States has within its blood. But there is a good possibility none of this could happen. We could collapse, nothing could happen, but this is where that resonance I was talking about comes in. What position are we in right now? We are in a location, and we're looking into the thick wilderness of the future, and we can smell for certain opportunity is there. There's a good chance we'll die, or we'll get killed, or we'll get lost, but the two undeniable points in all of this is we can smell an opportunity somewhere close, and we are in a position to try to get it. In other words, we, right now, are living the same feelings our ancestors did. There is a bright, juicy tomorrow in front of us. And it's there for us to try to get it if we want to prove that we are the descendants of winners. Europeans, the geneticists, are talking about breeding themselves out of existence, or they're talking about wanting to return to some past that sucked and will lead them to an even suckier future if they were able to attain it. We're talking about victory, the likes of which humanity hasn't yet known. And I mean that literally. We're the experiment. But we've done it before, and once again, there is an opportunity for us to do it again. And even if we fail, I think this is another aspect that makes Americans great. The love of the game. I feel it's enough for us to know that we tested our mettle against something real, fighting the unknown, as God intended, rather than stewing in some failed genetic past. And this is another reason gender is important. Going back to that last video, we talked about the sex level, the biological level. We could call that, in this setup, the genetic level. Then there's the memetic level, and then up above that, there's the spiritual level, and then I think there are levels you can go even further beyond. Other nations are sitting at the genetic level and squirming around in circles. The United States is at the memetic level, and we're reaching even higher. I reiterate, this is not a war for our race. This is a war for the future and for our souls. We are on the front lines of possibility. We will get to live to see this battle play out. And you can even participate in it. I recommend everybody have a YouTube channel. Get a voice. Spread it. Get above people. Put your soul against the collective grindstone and see if you get anywhere. What is it? Hunter S. Thompson? It's our country, it's not theirs. In a democracy, you have to be a player. There has never been a better time to be playing, or a better nation to play in. Maybe that's another aspect of all men are created equal. The future isn't totally and basically out of your hands. It's as much your future as it is anyone else's. Don't let people trick you or scare you or beat you into giving up your inalienable human rights. And the genius thing about the Constitution is, I don't think they're God-given rights. It's deeper than that. They weren't even given to you. They are self-evident that you can influence the future. Even if it's not the way you want, even if it's not guaranteed, you have the inalienable agency to fuck things up. Okay, I feel like I've been patriotism edging for about 12 minutes now. I don't feel a climax coming, but I think dick slapping Europeans with freedom was elevating enough. I can't tell you how disgusted, this entire video, I can't tell you how disgusted I was when I realized that Europe is about genetics. There is not 1 ounce of soul over there. Everything they do is vacant and genetics focused. It's so dehumanizing. And to be as real as I can with you at this exact moment, I know my opinions go all over the place. I like experimenting with things. I like listening to my instincts. I like doing all this and that. But, I mean, and tomorrow, maybe I'll hate America tomorrow. But when the dude said, when you're born in a place and you grow up in that culture around these people, and it's the only culture you know and care to know, you're still not one of these people because you aren't their ethnicity. And if that's the way certain cultures want to look at things, that's fine, but that's not the way he said it. He stated it as some basic fact spawned out of a diseased European mind. I knew Europe was dead, and despite everything, I was so thankful to be an American. We're terribly fucked up, but we aren't that diseased. And more importantly, we aren't that self-defeating and soul-denying. We may achieve nothing in life, but every American's default settings afford us the opportunity to win, the mindset required to win. And so generous is our soil, these truths are self-evident to us. It's like being born with good self-esteem. That doesn't sound like a lot until you see not just one person, but a people and many peoples without it. You were born with a potential emperor's soul. Those people were born with peasants' souls. At this moment, I am so thankful. It's realizing you're not that thing, you'll never be that thing, and your soil did you this favor because it loves you. Oh yeah, that's one last thing before we go. I think it's important that Bill the Butcher took Amsterdam under his wing. That hit me after another clarity pass. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you haven't.